This is City Councillor Nadeem Mazen. I'm reporting in on the January 29th Thursday City Council meeting, postponed from Monday due to the snow emergency. We really only got through the City Manager's agenda, so I'm going to focus on those items. We actually had 3 hours of public comment on these items and therefore never made it to the policy orders or the rest of the agenda. One, the Pearl Street reconstruction. Will it be the same as it currently is in the reconstruction with some bump outs and changed sight lines? Or will it actually fundamentally be different with a complete streets option for bikers during the day and 100 fewer parking spots during those daytime hours? We heard a lot of impassioned pleas from both sides, and in the end, it seemed like the sense of the council was not to have that bike path during the day and not to upset people's parking plans. I personally am in favor of the complete streets plan. We've got a lot more feedback just about the number of people and the number of bikers who need that lane as a transit to the river from Central Square, and as an important street in that network and an important street for bike safety in general, that young children, casual bikers, older bikers really were looking for a more complete and more safe network of streets without really inconveniencing people, given that the vacancy rates in parking during the daytime are actually quite high, the study says. So Tim Toomey's policy order to remove the complete streets option and remove the idea of a dedicated bike path during the day was tabled, and so this will not be scuttled now. However, people in the community should, I think, be worried that this could prematurely scuttle the idea of a complete streets plan if it passes next time. So it's still a good idea to come out and speak to the calendar item since it was tabled. I hope that the city is allowed to explore both options. Neither are a foregone conclusion, and I think just as long as the city engages with residents and finds its own solution, that's good enough for me. So I just don't want to take either option off the table now. I like both, and I want to see a really good compromise or a really good solution, not one over the other prior to any study and prior to any creative compromise. The smoking ordinance came up, and we finally passed it. We ordained it, and it took some revisions and some amendments, but largely this is an ordinance to take products that target kids and are attractive to kids out of shops and restricted only to tobacconists' shops, specialty shops, and also kind of take away some of the smoking in public parks in certain designated areas, tot lots and other smaller parks, while preserving kind of an open air permission for smoking in certain larger parks or away from tot lots. That has a lot more detail, but basically that's the gist of it. Hookah smoking is still allowed in some outdoor patios for restaurants, and that was important for some councillors to preserve, so that was an interesting feature. And then lastly, the Nexus study. This studies the impact that increasing commerce and commercial real estate transactions will have on the increased demand for housing in Cambridge. It allows us to increase the rate at which commercial real estate developers will have to contribute to a fund for affordable, moderate, and middle-income housing. And that rate per square foot could actually be quite high. The report says it could be $24.30 per foot. We're now at 5 something or 4 something. But the report actually recommends that to stay competitive regionally, we should go to $10 to $12. A lot of this is a little fuzzy, and the real number might end up being 15, or it might be 10, or it might be 20. But the important features are that we absolutely need more baseline data to understand what the report is kind of comparing the future to. We don't see a lot of data in that report about where we are now. We don't have target population numbers in that data, so it's difficult to know how the affordable building and housing demand will play into our total population size in the future. Also in the Nexus study are assumptions about how much development will be done in the next phase. 4.6 million feet was the assumption. However, that assumption, it's not clear how that number was reached, whether the fact that large developers invariably ask for special permits and make larger constructions, that our construction estimates were far surpassed by actual development over the last few years. It's not clear whether all of that was taken into account when making this model for future demand and for future housing supply. So that all will be discussed when this goes to the Housing Committee, and no decisions have been made and no number has been set. for our per square foot fee based on this Nexus study. So we'll all have the opportunity to talk about that in much greater detail. That's all for the Thursday meeting. There's a lot more that happened, but we're taking a 6-hour meeting and condensing it into about 6 minutes. So hopefully that works for now. And there will still be a packed agenda on Monday as we get to the remainder of policy orders and the regular order of business for that meeting.